What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Tour Championship. And with 30 players in the field, I don't think this is going to take very long, so I just want to start at the top and say thank you. It's been an awesome season. We've built a lot of cool tools along the way. We've had some good discussions and arguments and everything here or on Twitter. We won a GPP at the Masters, so it's been a really good year for us. And I owe a lot of that to you guys. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to next season right away. I'm going to start rebuilding a lot of these tools. Some of them will just be on the back end, kind of like efficiency stuff with the data where you won't see it. But there will be new tools. There'll be things that we're going to continue to build out. If you have any requests, ideas, thoughts, problems, now's the time to raise them. So tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand. Leave a comment below or email me. It's info@dfsondemand.com. Let's get into the Tour Championship. All right, you crazy kids. If you are new, everything you see is available on dfsondemand.com. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time actually talking about the players this week. I think the Tour Championship is more about roster construction, right? There's 30 players in the field. They're all making the cut. There is no cut. They're going to play 4 rounds here. And you're going to have to, be creative with, there's going to be so much overlap in ownership that there's a couple approaches you can take. You can take the really chalky route and everyone's going to have 40% of Justin Rose or Tony Finau or Bryson DeChambeau. Or you can kind of go against the grain depending on the format that you're playing. So I'm just going to try to point out, I think, some of the most interesting things here on the cheat sheet. If you're trying to separate the top 5 guys, Justin Rose, Dustin Johnson, Rory, JT, and Brooks Koepka all over 10,000, I think you're going to have a hard time doing so. I guess there's a few of these guys that I'm more bullish on than others. Obviously, Justin Rose coming in unbelievable form, back-to-back second place finishes. He's finished no worse than a 10th here in each of his last 5 starts at the Tour Championship. So I think he's going to be super chalky, but if you can plug him into a bunch of your lineups, I think you'll be just fine. I guess DJ worries me a little bit, and only in the sense that only DJ can worry you, right? Like is he going to finish 15th here? Because 15th isn't good enough. We've seen him, 3 straight top 5s so it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and 2 years ago, where he had 3 straight top 5 finishes, and he's, probably the best player in the world. I know that Rose just took over the number 1 rank, but we know what DJ can do, but he still worries me a little bit. You've got all this, not to get too narrative, but you've got all this distraction stuff going on Twitter with him and Paulina and whatnot. Who knows where his head is at this week? 24th last week at the BMW, 27th at the PGA, which were a little bit concerning. So if there's any of these guys that we need to split hairs on, I think it's DJ. But Rory's the one that really, gets my juices flowing here. Obviously won this in 2016, a second place in 2014, and he's just knocking on the door, right? Begging to win an event. 5th place last week at the BMW, 12th at the Dell Technology. So really coming in good form. So I think you're kind of splitting hairs there. So let's talk about some guys that I think are more interesting or better values here on the cheat sheet. So I think Fowler's in a really good spot. Remember that he took off from the PGA Championship and he had it was a rib injury, right? So we were really kind of cautious to see how he was going to play after he returned, and he impressed. Okay, an 8th at the BMW. Now gets the extra week of rest before the Tour Championship, probably only helps him. I think $9,100 is probably too low for Fowler. I think he might be in a spot where, Ricky's always a little bit over-owned compared to what he should be, but it feels like he's in a range that he could go overlooked with Tiger above him, Finau just a little bit below him. So I actually think that Ricky's in a really good spot here. I think that Finau and DeChambeau will be very popular down in this mid 8,000 range. We'll talk a little bit more about those guys in a second. But let's jump down. Actually, before we get there, this 77 to 8,000 range, Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, and Jason Day, would you be shocked to see any of these 3 guys win it? I mean, you could literally load up on all three of those guys and then maybe plug in someone down at the bottom. Like, you're going to make some killer lineups this week. A lot of them are going to be pretty highly owned, but that is a range where I would not be surprised to see, even if you throw in Molinari, right? Those four guys between $7,700 and $8,200 win this thing. I don't think that would be outrageous at all. And then we'll jump down to the bottom. So if you're looking for hot hands, I mean, you get last week's champion Keegan Bradley at $6,200. Few guys playing better than he is right now. But I also like Kevin Na. So when you get into these situations where it's the Tour Championship, and a lot of these guys have like never played it before, at least a lot of these guys in this price range, right? I like to bank a little bit on experience, and Kevin Na's been here before, right? He's played. This will be, I think, his sixth start at Eastlake. He had 12th place last week. He had 15th at the Northern Trust, so he's playing well, and he's min priced. Like, the fact that he's min priced and Patton Kizzire is min priced is criminal. So Kevin Na's 80-1 to win this thing, which is like, 80-1. That's fine. Same price as Patton Kizzire, who's 250-1. That's wrong. I would like to see Kevin Na probably in the $6,400-$6,500 range. I think that's more fair for him. But he's not. He's $6,000. So you save $500. So I think that's really where you can kind of, like, there's plenty of these cheap options that you can just plug into these lineups. All right. Let's look at, I'm going to keep saying last week. I know it wasn't last week. It was 2 weeks ago, the BMW Championship. Strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained approach are going to be critical at Eastlake. We've seen that on the correlation. So looking back 2 weeks ago, strokes gained off the tee, Rory led the field, 1.3 strokes per round, and Tony Finau was second, okay? So you're going to get a nice little discount on Finau, who continues to rack up top tens, and striping the ball off the tee. That was tough to say. Also, if you just flip over to strokes gained approach, who led that category? Let's see. Oh, Rory. Okay, so Rory led in both off the tee and approach, which are the two most important strokes gained numbers this week. I'm not too much of a betting man as far as like straight bets, but Rory, I feel like he's just going to win this thing. You know what I mean? Like he's rounding into form. He's got all the numbers. He's playing well to fit Eastlake again this year, and it just feels like he's just going to show up and win. Also, you get Tiger here, right? Like Tiger second in strokes gained approach at the BMW. Horschel third, Xander fourth, and Hideki rounds out the top five. Billy Horschel's not bad. What's Billy Horschel's price this week? $7,300. So coming off a third place at the BMW and a third place at the Northern Trust, we know he's won here before. I wouldn't mind Billy Horschel at 73. I wonder what his ownership is going to be. He's a little bit more of a risky option considering, over the course of the last, handful of tournaments, he's just as likely to top five as he is to miss the cut. But I think that Horschel is a good option. And let's always do what we do here where we sort by strokes gained total and then look for the guys who lost strokes putting. All right, so we really didn't have anyone lose strokes until you get all the way down to Koepka, which is like 20th on this list, and Dustin Johnson. So there's a couple of guys I want to look up here. Let's look up Rory, let's look up Tiger, let's look up Molinari, Koepka, and Dustin Johnson as far as how they have been performing this season. So Rory and Woods. Let's look over the course of the last 20 weeks. Okay. So that goes from basically the Wells Fargo Championship in May to the BMW. Molinari usually loses about a quarter of a stroke per round. So last week he actually gained a hair over basically even. So actually that would be a tough guy to target. If he regresses back to his average, you'd actually lose some strokes. Who else here? Who did we say? Tiger? Or let's do Rory. So Rory's here. Rory's usually about a neutral, even putter. Last week, same thing. Tiger, neutral. Those are within, completely, margin of errors. That's fine. That's normal variance. Koepka's always interesting because he lost. What did he lose? A ton last week, right? 0.65 strokes per round on the greens when he's normally, gaining nearly 2/10. So maybe that's a stroke per round. And then who was the last guy that we wanted? Oh, DJ. He putted like garbage. Yeah, so definitely some ceiling for DJ to get back to this, where DJ's usually about a third of a stroke per round gaining on the greens. Last week he lost 1.2 strokes per round. I haven't looked this up. I bet you that's the worst he's done all year. I would not be shocked to see if that was DJ's worst putting performance of the year at the BMW. So there is definitely some ceiling for him to bounce back a bit here. All right, let's look up. Actually, I do want to do course history because the Tour Championship has been. We have so much good course history here for East Lake. So Rory obviously dominates for guys that have at least 4 rounds, or at least 4 starts here. He has a win and a second place. Actually, Paul Casey, 4 trips here, no worse than a 5th place. So 2 5ths and 2 4ths. He's played terribly recently. So if you're just looking for a guy who might be able to bounce back, Casey's your guy. Rose, okay, Mickelson has played well here, right? Won it in 2009. Racked up a bunch of basically that win in that third really bumps up his average. The rest are kind of middle of the pack finishes. And here's Keegan, which, wow. Am I really going to talk myself into Keegan, who an 11th, a 12th, and a 23rd, but he's damn near min priced. He won last week. I could probably talk myself into getting a lot of Keegan. And then let's flip it over to the Tour stats real quick here and look at some of the correlated numbers. As I mentioned, strokes gained approach and strokes gained off the tee are going to be very important, and then par 4 scoring as well. So let's start with par 4 scoring. The top 4 guys are all over $10,000, so no surprise. And then you get the guys that I think are interesting, right? Rahm and Day are 5th and 6th on this list and priced $8,000 and $7,700. That is pretty outrageous. Strokes gained approach. Oh, Tiger. Tiger number 1. Keegan number 2. Then you get Justin Thomas, DJ Molinari, and DeChambeau. I mean, I'm telling you that 8,000 to 8,500 range is ripe. Strokes gained approach. DJ's number 1. Bubba and Gary Woodland 2 and 3. They're both under $7,000. Might take a lot of convincing to get me there on either one of those guys, but if you're building some contrarian lineups and you just want to get some guys with, I hate like actually giving out full lineups or doing anything, but like if you wanted to create a stack of just guys that were all like strokes gained off the tee specialists, I bet you can fit all 6 of these guys in. DJ, Bubba, Woodland, Rahm, Koepka, Molinari. Does that add up? Oh man, now I'm gonna do the math. I hate this. Sorry guys, and I hate giving out like full lineups because I think it's terrible for the industry. But I haven't done it all year, and it's the last tournament, and I'm just actually kind of curious on if this number would work and if you really wanted to do some stack. I kind of hope it doesn't at this point, so that I don't have to worry about this. 10,000 and then 82. Oh, it's 50,400. Good. You can't play that. Good. That actually makes me happy. All right, we'll flip back to the cheat sheet. I didn't really see any big discrepancies with the Vegas odds. They're pretty clean this week on the pricing here. So Jason Day is the outlier. He's $8,000 and 20 to 1 to win. Hideki's also 20 to 1 to win, and he's 8,800. So Jason Day's $800 cheaper. Bubba Watson is 40 to 1 when his peers are 50 or 66 to 1. He's only $6,500. So Vegas likes him more than the DraftKings pricing does. But those are really the only two kind of. Actually, the other one would be Cam Smith, who's 66 to 1 when his peers are like 50, and he's priced above them. So he would actually be a bad value. I don't mind Cam Smith, but there's really only those 3 discrepancies this week. So not much to go off of. All right, there you go. That's the Tour Championship cheat sheet. Again, I hope somebody wins big this week. It's been a hell of a year. Looking forward to next season. It'll be here before you know it, just a couple of weeks. If you have any improvements, suggestions, anything at all, I'm open. I'm available. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand. Leave a comment below or email me, info@dfsondemand.com. Looking forward to hearing from you. Good luck. See ya.